I'm Elaine Reyes at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and this is UN Insider.
Coming up.
It is time to end the dehumanization, to protect civilians, release the hostages, ensuring life-saving aid, and renew the ceasefire.
Amid a desperate humanitarian situation in Gaza, UN leaders push for more aid and an end to the fighting.
Today's operating environment is increasingly dynamic and often characterized by hybrid threats that blur the boundaries among domains.
Outlining the challenges UN peacekeepers face in a rapidly changing world.
We need to embrace what can transform our world and improve our world with AI while really working on what could potentially destroy it.
Powerful technology that could change the world. A conversation on the impact of artificial intelligence. Next.
The conflict between Israel and Hamas and the resulting humanitarian crisis in Gaza remain top concerns here at the UN. Supplies are critically low in the Palestinian enclave, and UN officials are calling for Israel to end its blockade and allow desperately needed aid. This week, Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for a renewed ceasefire, release of all hostages, and better protection for civilians and humanitarian workers.
The world may be running out of words to describe the situation in Gaza, but we will never run away from the truth. The current path is a dead end, totally intolerable in the eyes of international law and history.
Deja is monitoring developments inside the UN and has more on our top story. Deja.
Yes, Elaine. This week, we focused on two major developments: the situation in the Middle East and growing concerns over a potential trade war. It has been 1 month since the last ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas collapsed. According to the United Nations, no aid, no food, no fuel, and no commercial supplies has entered Gaza during this period. On Tuesday, the UN Secretary General made a public statement on the dire humanitarian situation.
In times like these, we must be crystal clear about the situation. With crossing points into Gaza shut and aid blockaded, security is in shambles and our capacity to deliver has been strangled. And as the heads of UN humanitarian organizations declared in a joint statement yesterday, and I quote, assertions that there is now enough food to feed all Palestinians in Gaza are far from the reality on the ground, and commodities are running extremely low. End of quote.
He also expressed strong opposition to Israel's newly introduced authorization mechanisms for aid delivery.
Let me be clear. We will not participate in any arrangement that does not fully respect the humanitarian principles: humanity, impartiality, independence, and neutrality.
On Monday, the Security Council held a meeting on peacekeeping operations. During the session, Lieutenant General Aroldo Lazaro, head of the UN peacekeeping mission in Lebanon, UNIFIL, briefed the Council on the evolving situation along the Blue Line and how UNIFIL is fulfilling its mandate.
Since the cessation of hostilities, which came into effect on the 27th of November, and in the absence of a permanent ceasefire, one of the main obstacles has always been that the parties interpret differently their obligations under Resolution 1701, and now with respect to the cessation of hostilities understanding. The strategic context and the balance of forces have now significantly changed, and we may finally see a slow process towards a more permanent ceasefire, but this may still take a long time.
Also this week, at the request of Syria, Algeria, and Somalia, the Security Council convened an emergency meeting on Israel's recent military actions inside Syrian territory. So what is the current situation in southern Syria?
The situation in the UNDOF area of operation since the closed Security Council consultation on UNDOF on the 19th of March has remained volatile and continues to be characterized by significant violations of the 1974 disengagement of forces agreement with the entry of the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, into the area of separation since the 8th of December.
The United Nations is urging for a renewed opportunity for peace during this critical moment for Syria.
Syria is at a crossroads and deserves a chance to continue to work towards an inclusive political transition, where the Syrian people can overcome the conflicts, revive their economy, realize their legitimate aspirations, and contribute to regional stability.
Now, on to the trade war. This week, we witnessed a dramatic development as the United States imposed tariffs. What was the Secretary General's response?
Trade wars are extremely negative. Nobody wins with a trade war. Everybody tends to lose. And I'm particularly worried with the most vulnerable developing countries in which the impact will be more devastating. I sincerely hope that we will have no recession, because a recession will have dramatic consequences, especially for the poorest people in the world.
Well, we are living in a time of deep global turbulence, and we'll continue to closely monitor how these stories unfold here in the UN. And that's all from me for now. Back to you, Elaine.
Shudija, thanks. The men and women known as the Blue Helmets are facing more challenges than ever before. There are 11 active peacekeeping missions around the world. This week, the head of UN Peacekeeping updated the Security Council on operations in a rapidly changing world. Jody Jacobs has more.
In 2024, the UN withdrew its peacekeeping forces from both Mali and the Democratic Republic of Congo. In both cases, the host country requested the withdrawals, claiming the UN had failed to uphold its mandate and protect civilians. The United Nations admits there have been challenges and have called for urgent reforms to make peacekeeping more adaptable. It says conflicts around the world are becoming more protracted as geopolitical divisions widen.
Today's operating environment is increasingly dynamic and often characterized by hybrid threats that blur the boundaries among domains. In this context, ceasefire monitoring can no longer be just about being present. It's about rapidly understanding and acting on what is happening on the ground.
China, which contributes close to 2,000 troops, remains the largest contributing permanent member of the Security Council. It also contributes more than 18% to the overall peacekeeping budget. Speaking during a Security Council meeting on Monday, China pledged its continuing support to UN peacekeeping operations.
Conflicts and hotspot issues keep flaring up. The maintenance of international peace and security faces new situations, tasks, and challenges. Against such a background, the role of UN peacekeeping operations has become even more prominent and important on a basis of respecting the three peacekeeping principles. We need to adapt to the changes to continuously improve instruments and skills, especially the ceasefire monitoring capabilities, so as to create conducive conditions for eventual resolution of the hotspot issues.
China has stressed the need to unlock the potential of emerging technologies to improve the operations of UN peacekeepers. These include strengthening early warning and intelligence information to better protect the peacekeepers. During a special session of the UN Security Council on Monday, member states, while expressing their continued support to UN peacekeeping operations, warned that peacekeeping missions need to be equipped with modern capacity if they are to fully implement their mandates. Last month, the Secretary General stated that the biggest hurdle facing its peacekeeping missions is a growing gap between what's expected and the available resources. Jody Jacobs, CGTN, New York.
The Democratic Republic of the Congo is in the middle of a hunger crisis. A record 27.7 million people are facing acute levels of hunger. Fighting between the military and armed opposition groups has deepened the crisis. Nearly 8 million people in the DRC have been displaced. Many have fled to neighboring countries. For instance, Uganda is now hosting nearly 600,000 Congolese. In the past 2 weeks, an average of 600 people a day have entered Uganda from the DRC. Let's take a look at some of the other issues on the UN's agenda.
The genocide against the Tutsi was not Rwanda's tragedy alone, but a haunting reminder of what happens when we fail to act.
Rwanda's Chargé d'Affaires, Robert Kayinamura, joined the Secretary General and General Assembly President to mark an International Day of Reflection on the 1994 genocide. Nearly 1 million people died during 100 days of ethnic violence. Extreme heat and unseasonable rain are complicating earthquake relief efforts in Myanmar. At least 3,500 people have died, and the toll is expected to rise. A new report shows more women are surviving pregnancy and childbirth. The maternal mortality rate declined 40% between 2000 and 2023. But progress has slowed in the last decade.
Coming up.
We're worried that there will be an AI divide and that there will be a kind of AI haves and have-nots.
UN Insider.
Making sense of the overwhelming wave of information means cutting through the noise to shine a light on the heart of the story and making room for new perspectives. True understanding means the ability to see events from more than one side. I'm Liu Xin, and this is The Point.
Artificial intelligence could potentially change many aspects of our lives, from healthcare to how we communicate. The UN is trying to make sure no one is left behind when it comes to the benefits of the rapidly growing technology. I sat down with Melissa Fleming. She's the Undersecretary General for Global Communications. What are your thoughts on the current state of global communications, and how is AI changing what you do?
Well, the current state of global communications is a big challenge for us. I mean, my job is leading the UN Department for Global Communications is really to communicate not just on the UN's work, but also on the state of the world. To communicate facts, to communicate reports, to communicate what our teams are seeing on the ground. But yet we're living in an attention economy, and attention in the kind of algorithmic driven age that we're living in is hard to achieve with cold hard facts. What drives attention is often, sensation and fear, and so we're competing with that. It's a big challenge, but we try to create strategic content that is not just factual, but also reaches people in their hearts, and also provides solutions, and that there is a way, a formula to get out of the problems that we're all facing collectively.
Are you seeing that AI is uniting or dividing diplomacy in multilateral organizations like the UN?
Well, we're worried that there will be an AI divide and that there will be a kind of AI haves and have-nots. Many countries around the world do not yet have the opportunity to develop and to take advantage of the wonders of AI themselves. And so what we're trying to do is find ways to equalize and to provide opportunities through the Global Digital Compact that was adopted here at the UN in September. It called for UN bodies that would bring member states together so that there could be this kind of sharing so that there could be discussions about governance, because we're also worried about the dark side of AI. And yeah, so everybody could really benefit from the opportunities. The problems that AI can solve are international collective problems. They have to do with medicine. They can improve education. And they can provide early warning and weather systems. So there's so much that we'd love to share, but yet we have to ensure that everybody has access.
How would you describe UN-China ties when it comes to cooperating towards a goal of promoting a more united world?
Well, I think we all share the same goals, that we are striving for a world that is more peaceful, that is more just and equal, and based on the UN Charter. I think in these times where the world is facing so many challenges, multilateralism is being questioned. We do come back to the fundamentals of the UN Charter that all member states signed on to, and continue to emphasize, how important it is. And that is that all people, all human beings are born equal in dignity and in human rights, and that we need to work together to prevent the scourge of war. That is absolutely fundamental.
Do you have any concerns that AI can strengthen anti-immigrant movements, and what can be done to prevent some of that?
I worked for 10 years at the UN Refugee Agency, and I'm still passionate about the work that the UN does to help people who have been forced to flee war and persecution. They are very vulnerable. The online world has helped them in some ways because it connects them with lost family members, it helps them navigate, but at the same time it's been a source for attack and distortion of who they are and what their reasons for fleeing are. And we're very worried that in the age of AI and deep fakes, and algorithm kind of promoting things that generate fear, and there is a lot of fear of the other, and migration and refugees are being politicized. We are very worried that AI applications could supercharge hate speech towards refugees and migrants and people on the move.
There is this race with technology and artificial intelligence. Countries like China, a lot of European countries, the US, are all really racing to develop the next big tool within this huge space of AI. Do you have the sense that right now the perception is more positive or negative surrounding artificial intelligence?
It depends on who you ask. I can find so many people who are hugely worried about the existential nature of AI, and you could find, parents who are very worried about AI applications that are consuming the time of their children. For example, chatbots that are becoming their best friend instead of actual friends. We are concerned as people working in the Department of Global Communications on information integrity, on how certain actors could weaponize AI in our information space to supercharge false information and hate speech. But I do talk to a lot of people, including in our organization, who are super excited about AI applications to supercharge the Sustainable Development Goals. There's so many people in so many places who are, have no access to education. And, tutoring, the possibilities to provide education and resources and tutoring in multiple languages to lift kids into opportunities of education, in medical applications, in remote places, to be able to have access to the kind of world of medical information, and even just kind of how we operate internally. I mean, in my department, we see huge possibilities for translations, for increasing our multilingualism possibilities, message testing, some of the things that we put out there. I think we need to embrace what can transform our world and improve our world with AI while really working on what could potentially destroy it.
Undersecretary General Melissa Fleming, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
UN Insider.
I see a country on the move.
There's my opportunity.
Is it good to change so fast?
Yes, but it's a challenge.
We have one foot in the future.
But we never forget our past.
We need to talk to one another.
And listen.
More than 1 billion voices telling their stories. Rediscovering China, only on CGTN.
Sports have a unique ability to bring people together and create change. This week, the UN marked the International Day of Sport for Development and Peace. Athletic competition can foster inclusive environments for people, regardless of gender or background. It can also be a pathway to sustainable development. The life-altering power of sport is illustrated every day in Mexico's boxing culture.
For the past 3 years, Mexican-American photographer David Haynes Gonzalez has dedicated his life to documenting the hidden world of Mexican boxing. A wide-ranging journey that has taken him to the depths of the capital.
I came here with a mission to really understand my culture. It quickly turned into, what is boxing here? Of course, I've heard stories of all these great boxers from Mexico, but really want to understand what makes them special. Gyms in Mexico City are a core piece of every community. No different than a church. There's famous gyms all around Mexico City, and so what's unique about them, they all have the unique characteristics. They all have their long history, they all have soul, and you go in there and you feel it. There's something about Mexican gyms where you just feel the years of sweats and dedication and almost pain that they put into the ring and into the sport every day. You don't play boxing, you live it. You breathe it, you eat it, you wake up and think about it. It's all you do, at least if you want to be successful. I called my project No Te Dejes because it's a popular saying in Mexico, especially with Mexican boxing. It can best be translated to don't give up, don't back down. You have to be fearless. You're always moving forward, that relentless style that's undeniable about Mexican boxing.
At Los Recios de la Merced, a family-run gym in the city center, Saturday mornings are for open sparring. Fighters from all over the capital come to test themselves in the ring. They include boys and girls, amateur prospects, and even champions. Jessica Neri Plata is the light flyweight world champion, but she still comes to Los Recios several times a week to train with her father, and she'll spar with anyone who dares step into the ring with her.
Since they opened it, I have been coming here because I like it, because the truth is, there's a very familiar atmosphere, and I think that, they have always opened the doors for us. We go to other gyms, and sometimes this one, even if you are a champion, they charge you for going to train. So here, since I came in, they have never charged a peso. Unfortunately, my mom was addicted to drugs, so my dad was the same. That's why he instilled sport in us, for the same reason that he did not want us to one day take that path. And I tell you, so much has really changed in my life, because right now, I'm a good athlete, and well, this is so much of the change that boxing has made in my life.
Well, this one because she comes from below and she has worked since she was a child and likes it and has earned it. You can say she is the country of Mexico in the World Cup, and she's a very good fighter more than anything. She also hits really hard. That's to say she's a very, very good model for Mexican boxing.
I'm Elaine Reyes at UN headquarters in New York. Thanks for being a UN Insider. I'm Elaine Reyes at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and this is a special edition of UN Insider.
UN Insider serves as an important window for the global audience to better understand multilateral diplomacy.
It's very important for the media to cover the United Nations, to seek to understand and tell the story in ways that the average person in the street can understand.
I think it's very important that the media should contribute to conveying important messages about the reality of today's challenges.
UN Insider has come to the UN, and we at the UN are so grateful to have it here. It is the only dedicated TV program to what is happening in the UN, and it is reaching so many people with, as it says in its title, inside the UN stories.
Media plays an important role in providing objective information across the world.
We think that media has a strong power of uplifting, what we are trying to convey as messages as developing countries.
We need the mobilization of all peoples, of whole government and whole of society, and media can help us to be informed so that we also can make our part.
I think the media is fundamental to enable citizens across the world, first of all, to understand what is the rationale of having the United Nations. It's not that there is one place on planet Earth that will tell the rest of the world what to do. It is a much more complex story.